Hello there, it's Leslie Bender and welcome to Ageless Core Training. Did you know crunches ages us? When we're lying on the floor and doing a lot of flexion, we're starting to actually shorten our body. If you think about it, if we're spending a lot of time, for example, sitting over our computer, driving, our cell phones at work, etc., we're actually sitting in a flexed position. So I want you to just flex over and notice how you feel. And if I'm in this position for a long period of time, it's going to be really hard for me to find extension, just because my body is used to being in that position for a long period of time. Ageless core is really about feeling your body and its authenticity of how it should move. And when we think of lengthening versus shortening, then at the end of the day, we're going to have better posture. We're going to create more space in our joints. We're going to experience less pain, more energy, and have better flexibility and mobility. So in this little brief program, that what I want you to experience is what you're going to need is a small ball like the Bender ball. It needs to be soft, it needs to be pliable. A playground ball does not work because it's hard and it's slippery. Where we're going to begin actually is talking about your pelvic floor. And when we place a ball up above our knees in between our thighs, the old way of teaching a movement like this would be to squeeze the ball. Well, anytime I squeeze, tuck, and tighten any part of my body, I've restricted motion. And if we watch a baby or a toddler crawling around on the floor, they're not squeezing, tucking, or tightening anything. Ultimately, when we were that age, our ultimate goal was to become vertical. We also, were investigating and experiencing all the proprioceptors that were allowing us to become eventually an adult. And finally, we get to being an adult and we come up with some really crazy ideas of what we think should be core training. And for years, before we had all the research and the science, our idea of core training was laying on the ground, kicking our legs and doing crunches. Well, I come from that era 30 years ago or 3 decades ago when I started in this industry. That's what we did. That landed me a knee replacement. Not only does it possibly land you a joint replacement, hopefully not, at the end of the day, you're compromising your lumbar spine. So again, lying on our backs is not core training. It is a very small component of it. Being on our back should be a time of relaxation. Being on our backs should be a time for us to breathe and just sort of experience what we're feeling in our body. And at the end of the day, core training really begins when our foot hits the ground. From your toes to your nose really is your entire core body. So this is why in the ageless core and the philosophy behind being ageless is truly exactly that. Is keeping your fluidity, your mobility, and your stability in your body at no matter what age you are. So whether you're in your 20s or 30s, at the end of the day, again, if you start sitting in a flexed position for a long period of time, by the time you're in your 50s and 60s, I can guarantee you're going to have back and neck problems. And then you're going to, exacerbate that if you're doing crunches on the floor. So again, let's talk about how you can feel your core without ever having to lie down on your back. So from here, place the ball again in between your thighs. Just by doing this, don't squeeze it, lifting up through your body. So let's talk pelvic floor, which is, if we look at our diaphragm as a dome, our rib cage is a dome, and the pelvis is almost like being a bowl. I want you to think about when you lift up, like when you find yourself being taller. Now, that doesn't mean you arch your back. It simply means by lifting and feeling things. So if you were to reach your arms above your head, all of a sudden you're going to feel more connection to your entire body. We're in such a rush to feel like we have to kill ourselves that we don't actually feel that by simply reaching our arms up, we've activated our core. So again, our philosophy is very different in the ageless training program, is having you actually feel and experience what's happening in your body rather than just going right into a movement. So by simply reaching your arms up and lowering them down. So inhale and exhale, whatever feels good to you, by just doing this motion here, without, letting your back arch, but just feel a nice neutral spine. Just doing this motion here, every time the arms reach up, you're lifting through the pelvic floor. As the arms come down, the pelvic floor drops. So as you exhale, pelvic floor rises, inhale, pelvic floor drops. Now, if we were to add a squat to this, so if we're sending your hips back and returning, so arms down and arms up. So in a hinge position and sending your tailbone back, you're activating your glutes and hamstrings. No need to squeeze, tuck, or tighten anything. So lower down and lift. Let's do 3 more here. And I know this doesn't feel like you're killing yourself. No one said you have to kill yourself to have a strong core. Now from here, reach your arms up and now simply side bend from the right to the left. This is just the beginning of our series in a vertical position on what it feels like to actually let your body move. So as we side bend, bringing our hand down and giving me a bigger reach to the side, feel what happens in the side body. Come back to center, same thing, big reach into the side body. That can be even taking the ball away. Just by taking the ball away, you feel less connection in the inner thighs. But yet if you can still kind of visually feel it or mentally feel it, that you're still lifting up, that's important. So simply take the ball, and as you side bend down, press harder with your left hand, come back to center, now press harder with your right hand. But start to invite your hips to move from right to left. If you're a golfer, or you are, you play sports, which most people do some kind of activity, then all of a sudden you're inviting your hips to move, which feeds into the rest of the body. But if I said lock your hips down and just side bend from side to side, you're going to create maybe some discomfort in your low back. So we actually want a little bit of movement in those hips to your range of motion. So now let's go ahead and we'll do one more here just to give you an experience of what it feels like to really activate the core. So by now, holding the ball out in front of us, I want you to think of placing the ball right on your belly button here with a light compression. Now, just a light pressure, I want you to think of feeling as though you inhale, and as you exhale, as you compress, I want you to press back into your squat and now reach those arms forward. You're now in a really good position to engage those glutes and hamstrings, which are part of the core. Bring it back to center. Now reach up. Let's do that again. Bring the ball here between belly and thighs. Reach, lift, and up. Let's add on to that. So we're here. We pause, we bring it in. Now work on balance. Lift, right knee comes up, come back to center. Ball goes here, reach out, pause, left knee comes up, and so on. So our goal here again is to know that our vertical exercises truly activate your entire core body. And I want you to think about, if I am side bending or if I'm rotating, what do I have to do? I have to get out of a car, I get up out of a chair, et cetera, no matter what age you are. And again, by laying on our backs is not going to lead to function. So stay tuned for more series of ageless core training, where we're going to take you from vertical to kneeling to planking, utilizing the ball so that it gives you an opportunity to feel things in your body that maybe you didn't before. And by the way, when you're sitting in a chair, place the ball in between your thighs and just imagine lifting. Or you can place the ball behind your mid-back between your shoulder blades. That will encourage better posture. Again, I'm Leslee Bender, creator of the Ageless Training Academy, and stay tuned for a lot of our series on being the ageless human, no matter where you are chronologically in your life.